Let's talk about belts real quick. So sometimes we'll get the question of what belts work best with our holsters. There's a variety of different belts out there. A lot of belts are really high performing, but some of them are designed for specific purposes. So traditionally people wore hip carry and outside the waistband holsters, which generally require a thicker, more sturdy belt. So something like a thicker leather belt like this Mean Gene leather belt, or something like these Aries Gear Aegis belts work really well for that. For appendix carry and other inside the waistband carry, you don't really need as thick a belt because your pants as well as the belt are supporting the gun. And so we would recommend going with something thinner. So here are a couple other thin belts. So like the big thick leather belts, right, there's just too much girth there. And it compromises concealment a little bit, but it also compromises, it just doesn't work as well with the holsters, specifically the clips. A double thick scuba webbing belt like this one here can work okay, but again, it's probably thicker and more rigid than necessary. So something like this, where you have, this is just double scuba webbing where you'd wear the gun, and then a thinner webbing in different places. Or this belt here where you have a single thickness of scuba with like a faced nylon as well. That will work really well with our holsters for inside the waistband carry and with the T1 clip. Because one of the issues is you only have so much room inside the clip. So if the belt is too thick, it's hard to get this over the top of it. So you want to run a 1.5 inch belt, and you want to run a kind of a medium thickness belt. So you can go to a dress belt or something that's not designed to carry a gun and it's not going to work at all. So you need something that has some rigidity, typically scuba webbing of some sort, because it has not just rigidity this way, but it has like lateral stiffness to it. Will work pretty well to support a gun. Generally speaking, particularly with the T1 clips are not really designed to work with leather belts at all. One of the things you'll find is that oftentimes, in order to make it thick enough to have enough lateral stiffness, the belt maker will have to make a very thick belt, which works great with some holsters, but not so well with our holster. So if I put this in there and I don't have pants on, it barely gets over the top. And if I put pants in there as well, there's just too much. So it goes and it sits there, and the T1 clip doesn't close over the edge of it. One of the other things that people will complain about, obviously they spend a lot of money on their fancy leather belt, and then the T1 clip, which is this thin, relatively sharp metal, will scratch it up. And so if you're concerned about your belt and scratching it up, then I wouldn't use our holster on your belt. So one of the things about these is that they are wear items. So this is a prototype belt that I wore for a good year. And you can see the stitching here is just frayed. It still works just fine. Not all the stitching is gone, but it's pretty beat up. I mean, I wore this every day for over a year. And I think the solution would be, I could still wear it if I wanted to, but probably the right solution is to throw it away and buy a new belt. And I got a good year's use out of it, and I would be very happy with that, and move on to a different belt.